And Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in Canada invoking his emergency powers. Protesters at 2 border crossings now planning to leave. Let's bring in Bloomberg's Platt, who has been covering the developments across Canada from the nation's capital in Ottawa, where the city's police chief resigning today after his approach to the protests drew much criticism. So, Brian, let's start there. What can you tell us?
I mean, the police chief has failed from the beginning to, well, first to stop the convoy from digging in the city, in the capital city, and then from being able to keep it contained or crack down on it. He's largely taken a strategy of trying to wait the protesters out and negotiate with them rather than taking any kind of aggressive move of making arrests or clearing out the streets. And people lost patience with it. And so now I think he has resigned today, and I think we're going to start to see a more aggressive police response. I don't know exactly what that means yet, but I think things are going to change.
Well, things certainly are going to change if the truckers pull out. Are they on their way? Are those big rigs rolling off the bridges and opening up supply chains?
Well, so it depends on what you're talking about. The bridge that everybody was most concerned about, the Ambassador Bridge between Detroit and Windsor, was reopened on Sunday and has stayed clear. So police seem to have done a good job there. The one in Alberta, between Alberta and Montana, I believe that's flowing or may flow again today. But there's still other border crossings that are blocked or under threat, and there's no sign of the capital city truckers leaving the capital city anytime soon.
And Brian, you and I were talking earlier today as part of that emergency powers move by the Prime Minister. You talked about some of the moves to essentially get in the way of funding sources. So there is this banking connection to this story. Can you just explain that to our audience?
So, I mean, it's kind of interesting in that the police, at least in the capital city of Ottawa, are concerned that they can't get the truckers out by force, by going in and arresting or towing. And so the strategy that the federal government is now leading is to go after the money, to freeze the accounts of anybody involved in either directly involved but being here with the truck or supporting somehow. So you could have your personal bank account frozen. If you're a company whose truck is being used in a blockade, your corporate account could be frozen, and your vehicle insurance will be suspended. So they're really trying to put the financial screws to the truckers to get them to leave on their own, not just the truckers, but anybody participating in the blockade. So the hope is that by doing that, you don't have to have the riot cops come in and in a situation that could get really messy.
Another reminder as to why cash is king. Brian, what is the COVID situation like? Because this is what it all comes down to, right? They are angry about, at least initially, they were angry about having to get vaccines. But is it even necessary anymore? What's the COVID situation like in Ottawa and throughout Canada?
The numbers are dropping everywhere. Most provinces have now laid out a plan for removing not all restrictions, but a lot of the restrictions. Ontario just today, the biggest province where Ottawa is, just today said a lot of restrictions will be gone in March. So I think all of that was going to happen anyway. It's possible these protests have sped up the process, of course. But, you know, the federal government I think, if anything, is going to be very reticent to roll things back quickly because they don't want to be seen as capitulating to the protesters. They are slowly moving things back. They made remove some of the border testing requirements today, but I mean, things were on track to start being rolled back this spring regardless. So the protests may have sped that up a little bit.